That's okay. I am so happy to have you in the room. I spent I spent the morning watching the video that was posted on your page just to have a better understanding of the backstory, and really
Yeah.
just to say what a beautiful share that was. And I'm going to post the link so that everybody here can have an opportunity to join in the video and have a look at what you were sharing there. And I don't know where you would like to go in this conversation, but I'll say that everybody here is at Kind Mind Academy, and I'm happy to welcome Caroline Powell. And we're a few minutes early, but Caroline, I'm going to let wisdom guide the way and say that there's this place that when I've come to the room, I thought, how do I want to begin with people? And so a lot of people do topics, and they share they grab the back of somebody's book and start reading their bio. And I thought there's something unnatural about that. So I just thought it'd be really nice for you to share just who you are and where the principles. I always think it takes a hold of people. It takes us in a certain way or falls into us in a certain way, and where that place was for you, and maybe a little bit of the what went before, where you fell in, and then what's happening now. What do you think about that? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I yeah, I'm happy just that's the benchmark for me. So I'm happy. But thank you so much as well for inviting me to speak in Canada. So the beauty of technology. So and hi everyone as well. Um I think it might be just to give you a little bit of a background to where I used to be. Um because I pretty much got to a point where I tried everything out there, nothing had worked. And this truly does, it just blows my mind every single day. And trust me, I'm desperately trying hard to find an exception to this understanding. But then I come back to truth and I know that this is just who we are. So just to give you a little bit in a nutshell, really where I used to be. Um, I was born and bred in Harrow in England. So I don't know, is everyone in Canada or are we kind of spread out a little bit here or
Spread out, and more will come at 9 o'clock. So yeah, we're kind of
that's cool.
global.
That's cool. No
Right now,
worries.
the room is a little bit of Canadian and a little bit of Irish, a little bit of Norway.
That's fine. That's fine. Um, so my just to kind of give you background, my mum is Mauritian and my dad's German. They met, like my dad worked for the circus and my mum came over from Mauritius and they met whilst dad was working with the circus. Quick love affair and they got married, then they had me. Okay, so I was born and bred in Harrow in England, which is just kind of on the borders of London, really. And growing up, my mum was a seamstress, so she would work 24/7 back in the day. And my dad was a drinker and a gambler, and he worked at London Heathrow Airport. However, for whatever reason, and again, we never know the situation, but childcare wasn't an option, it wasn't on the table. So, growing up, a lot of my childhood was spent in my bedroom with the door locked and tied with a rope to the banister. And alongside that, there was physical and mental abuse. And I remember used to sit on top of the stairs and just listen to them arguing, like my dad trying to bury his head in the sand, and my mum just like basically kind of giving justification as to why I'd been beaten. And I just thought that was normal. I didn't really know anything different. Um, but I seem to have a recollection. It wasn't a nice feeling. I remember one night, in fact, no, it wasn't even just one night. I went through this stage where I put all my dolls in my bed and I slept on the floor because I wanted to look after my dolls. You know, we lived on a main road, and I remember looking outside and I don't know, just didn't feel connected to that, what was out there. And I suppose at that point, I hadn't experienced love. I never got any cuddles. I never got taken to the park. Um, I didn't experience love. However, 5 doors down, we had a library, and I remember going to I remember going to the library, and there was the romance section. I don't know how it looks now. Like now, you can get Kindle. I've got my Kindle, and I remember getting one of these Mills and Boon books. I don't know if you have that in Canada or if you don't know about that. Anyway, so I was reading this book, and this emotion came up, and I liked that. So I literally became addicted. Any book that was in this romance section, I must have read all of them, because when I was reading them, I got this nice feeling. At school as well, I started noticing that other children didn't have stitch marks on their legs. They'd come in from the weekend, they'd been doing family things. And I then started to kind of more buy into the labels that I was worthless. I shouldn't really be here. I just felt really lonely, that I was different. And that was it. It kind of went from there. Then I discovered weed and alcohol. And there was one of the friends whose mum would let us go round to her house. Like everyone was allowed. It was the mum that no one wanted their kids to go to, because you could get away with everything. So I started smoking weed and cocaine, and weed and drinking alcohol. And I remember when I was 16, it was my last exam at school, and I came home, and my mum was literally dragging the furniture out of my room to put into her room. And I was like, what are you doing? She said, it used to be mine before I got married. You don't deserve it. And she went to hit me again, but my dad stepped in, grabbed hold of her arms, told me to go downstairs. Well, that was the day that I moved out of home and I made myself homeless. Having come from the experience and the journey that I'd had, I actually really enjoyed it. So I was so for surfing. There was sometimes I might sleep in a car down in Bournemouth, you know, shared room in a house. I remember there was a year that another parent took me in and I slept in the same bed as like my friend, you know. So I kind of went through every part of homelessness, bar actually having to sleep on the streets. I didn't have a fixed abode. 3 years later, my dad won some money at the bookies and put £2,500 down on a deposit. And it kind of went from there. And I just started sinking lower and lower into these feelings, but also going back to this emotion of love. That was it. I liked that. That was nice, right? And I wanted more of that. So I went out to look for Mr. Right, because when you're growing up, you're told that you meet someone, you get married, you have kids, and that's kind of the way that I was conditioned. And my friends started settling down into relationships, and for some reason, I couldn't sustain a relationship. I became really needy. And like, if they didn't text me back straight away, I'd kind of go into panic mode and send all these crazy amount of texts and ringing them. And then they'd end it. I'd be distraught, you know, and I kind of just had men in the end running on a production line through my life. I couldn't actually tell you how many men I've been with, to be honest, because at that time I was just seeking everywhere. Started feeling lower and lower. And then I came, you know, I did finally get married. And the crazy, I've been used to so much drama in my life that I actually ended that marriage for the only reason being is that I thought he was boring. Okay. It wasn't what I was used to. And that was it. I just then hit cocaine, started sinking further, threw myself into work, had a breakdown. The doctor said that I'd worked too hard. I've got a 3-year-old child next door. I'm a single mum. I'm on the phone to the ambulance service saying I want to commit suicide and I'm scared. Kind of went crazy, like down that way. So running alongside that, I had my career path, which was estate agency, real estate, I think you call it, in Canada, and some other parts of the world. And I fell into that when I was about 19, pretty much the same time that my dad had given me the money to get this property. And I just literally went hell for leather. And I was actually a very successful career woman, kind of been on TV, home programs, like we have Homes Under the Hammer. So been on that. And in fact, it's funny. I remember we were running a program and someone came in saying, we've just seen you on Homes Under the Hammer. So I was very good and successful, and I worked for a corporate company. After 15 years, I then, with another lady, we set up a business, and that was in 2004. Loved it because I could go into that environment and I could put my mask on and that's it. And I was actually very good at that. Very good at getting into character. But beyond that, I was still suffering and it was just getting worse and worse. And then I had another relationship long term where it was an old flame that I'd got back in contact with, Facebook, as we have that. And then that marriage fell, but that one was actually quite toxic, that was physical and mental abuse. And it was just terrific the way that it ended up. So, I mean, that one actually only lasted 2 years. So anyway, so I'm on the floor. I'm like, okay, I need to get out of this fix because I started having people falling out of my life. My friends that are around me were just like, I just can't do anything more to, they couldn't bear to watch where I was. And, I look even now, if I look at pictures back then, it's like the lights are on, but nobody's home.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look like it's kind of scary looking at it because the eyes are just glazed. There's nothing there. And I tried everything. First of all, the traditional approach, which is counselling. I got referred by the doctor and I had 6 weeks counselling and then I ended up paying private. All in all, I had 28 months of counselling. And to top it up, I would have Reiki, and then it was hypnotherapy, and then NLP. Then I'd have my yoga holidays. Then I was going to the gym. Then it was like, I just literally threw myself into anything that was offer out there. Yeah. I want a piece of that, okay? And because it's money-wise, successfully, I'd done well. So I could literally go out and pay for whatever I wanted. I even bought an oxygen machine for £700 because I thought it would just cleanse me in some way. And I'll be honest, it kind of like, I did get relief, but it was all kind of temporary. It was hard work to do it, as well. It felt like I was just giving myself extra jobs. Anyway, I then went on a 1-day free course, and it was actually for a different approach. This was NLP, but within it was weaved about the 3 principles. So it'd be NLP, then you'd have this Scottish man talking on a video, right? Like, for any of you that understand the 3 principles, it was kind of a strange combination. Right, so the NLP, I'm making my notes, and then I've got this Scottish man that I'm watching, and I'm like, I didn't have a clue what this man was going on. I didn't understand any of it. So in the break, you all start talking. I said, I don't get this. I don't really, but there's something about this guy that there's something there. And one of the guys who was on the program, he said, Caroline, I've just read this book, The Enlightened Gardener, you've got to read it. And I did. I remember I just came home that night. I read the whole of this book in one night and I cried non-stop. For the first time, I saw that my mum and dad loved me. And it was almost like someone shone a torch beyond, that I could see how much pain that they were in. And I had a little bit of a domino effect with that. So that was it, £10,000 later, and I've signed up onto this course, but it was kind of still a little bit blended. So I was kind of getting curious about it in my own way and exploring. I listened to incredible speakers like Dickin and George, like I'm sure that Kelly shared as well. You know, there's some absolutely incredible speakers out there that really speak from such a grounded space. But there's something there when I started getting curious, and I volunteered with homelessness at the time. So I'm having conversations with them. I'm on my journey and I'm sharing my journey. You know, then something started changing there, you know, and it was like, look, they're not broken. I thought, great. What I want to do, give back in the community, because there's no way these guys can afford this stuff. No way whatsoever. I said, great, all I need to do is find somewhere in the UK where they're doing this in the community, copy the model and do it in Hertfordshire. No one was doing it. The only place I could find I Heart in Schools and Beyond Recovery, Jacqueline Hollows.
Yes.
So I go to the 3P UK conference. I just about managed to exchange a card with Jacqueline because she's swamped with all these people around her, and I literally tried to push them aside. Anyway, 3 months later, we had a Zoom call, and she said, look, come up and sit in the program, because she knew what I was doing. She goes, come into the prison. Anyway, I went in the prison. That was it. It was like, you know, like I'm staring at the walls. It's like they were vibrating. Such an energy in there. It was incredible. Anyway, that then kind of moved on with regards to, like, we started having research. We had a test research, because basically I then started being a real big pain in Hertfordshire and stalking everyone to like really badly, and all over. I was actually really good at social media as well. So there it was, this crazy estate agent is running around everywhere telling everyone that homeless people aren't broken and that she's got something that will fix their mental health, right? Which is like, you can see it's like a little bit, it can seem a little bit different. Anyway, so in the end, like I kind of got a little bit impatient. I stepped back from that and I was like, you know, I'm just going to do this anyway. And Quakers Homeless in London offered to pay for the hall hire. I had 2 facilitators from Beyond Recovery, Lily and Susan, that offered to come because they only live down the road. They love the demographic that we're working with. And we had a research with the program, and, you know, the results were really, really encouraging, which is fantastic. And that journey, that then became a slice of happiness. But the charity, there's a huge charity in Hertfordshire, and the CEO found out about it, got a little bit curious, and it kind of then organically moved to that we went into partnership with them. And then we had COVID hit, and then we had, okay, well, we've got Coventry University Research Centre, then the NHS UK were like, right, okay, well, we'll give you some funding and we'll support you with what you're doing. So, like, we've got a really good foundation there. And what I love about that is that it was the direction that I was looking in. However, I learned from banging on all these doors that I kind of didn't get anywhere, that when you can step back, as long as you're looking in the right direction, the answers come up. Okay. So this now, as we are in Hertfordshire at the moment, we are running spas. The reason that we call them spas is because the feedback that we got is that what we offer is not a program or a course. You know, this isn't something intellectually that we're learning. There's
Yeah.
something that's a lot more powerful about it. And it gives you the same outcome as a spa.
Yeah.
So that's why we call it a spa. But we are working with those that are facing redundancy, unemployed, and or on we have something benefits like where the government pay like universal credit. So we have that, and the outcomes are really good from that we're getting at the moment. And based on that, we've now been asked if we can now start working with another demographic, which is carers. So we've been given funding to start working with unpaid carers to give support to them as well. So that's all just kind of moving in a really beautiful direction. And there's it can be a little bit overwhelming. I can get caught in my thinking about it. And then I just kind of step back. But I'm lucky to have an incredible support system there with the team that's organically grown. But I'd just like to kind of give a little bit of an insight as to how my life has changed. Because, you know, growing up, what I see, you know, we come from nothing. Like, you know, we come into this world, like we're given this body, this thing that we can see. And that's it. We're kind of thrown out there and like, we've got to try and make sense of the world, right? So we start looking around, and I can now look back, and I can only talk from a space of what I've seen myself, you know, because I'd attached a hell of a lot of labels to myself, which then resulted in a hell of a lot of beliefs about the world that I was trying to make sense of, other people that I was trying to make sense of. And obviously that kind of was weaved in with different experiences that I was having, and had this bit of intellect. And innocently, what I done is created this separate identity. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And really, that's kind of how I was navigating through life, through that. And I genuinely believe that that was all true. 100%. And what I love about the three principles, there's something that, you know, we every single one of us as facilitators or that speaks about this, that we try our best, you know, with our own little bit of intellect, you know, to try and describe this incredible universal intelligence that we can't see. We try and give some sort of form to it, some sort of words, but it can't touch how incredible it is. It is huge, you know. You know, it's crazy. It's like I used to be operating from this ego and this identity, what I thought to be true. And the more that we kind of explore like mind and our thoughts, you know, the consciousness and wisdom, and as soon as we start exploring like that psychological backdrop to our human design, how all this, what we thought we were, and pain and suffering, all of that, how it just literally falls away to almost be welcomed back into the world, to see the world through a different lens. That I'm so grateful for. That I can see the world through a different lens, the natural part of it, you know, and it just wakes us up to who we are.
Yeah.
And that is powerful. And even like we can have an insight, we can see something differently. And what I love about this is how it works. It might come back and visit you again 6 months later and you see something deeper about it. You know, I lost both of my parents and my uncle last year, and I buried three of them within 3 days because of COVID. And I am so grateful for this, to understand how my design works, because I trusted just in that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's shown me enough, and I've seen enough and heard enough, you know, not just to see, but to really see how this can change life for you. Is And that navigated me through it. You know, I didn't have any previous experience of grief. So that all I knew was just to just show up to the situation as me.
Mm.
You know, and it was like almost like watching a movie and being aware, oh my God, wow, that's that thought. I'm not going to see mum and dad. Look, there it goes. You know? So I could quite happily go on holiday with all of you for a year. And I would never tired of being able to share conversations and what I've seen through this, you know, people that we've had on our spa that genuinely thought they're broken. Genuinely. And I love, there's no exceptions to who we are. And I love how it's universal, like the physical part of us that we can see, that we know is universal for every human being.
Mm-hmm.
And the psychological part beyond that is 100% universal and the same for every human being. And we see that in children. There's no race, there's no religion, there's no money. It's just 100% pure love.
Mm-hmm.
100% pure love.
Mm-hmm.
And if we allow it, like sometimes I see people, and I know I was one of them, that I was so convinced that love came from outside in.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd made up a story that love equated to hurt and something to be scared of. And I would feel that, and it was almost like I never gave my permission to bathe in it, to swim in it. And I do that now. Very thankfully to an incredible mentor, Dr. Jack Pransky.
Mm-hmm.
He guided me there, and I just cried for 2 days. Then it was it was at his last live talk that he done with Gabriella, and I literally just free falled into it and just cried.
Mm-hmm.
It was the most that was just powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that again when like mum and dad passed on like the morning that dad was buried, and I was watching Aaron Turner and Leela, and you know there's so much love between them, and there was something that just came up, and that was it, just fell back into that love. That's that, I just fell into that again, and I felt that connection with mum and dad.
Yeah.
And we have that with every human being. There's so many beautiful blind spots that can be unfolded, and it truly is like I feel grateful every day. Don't get me wrong, I have my crap days as well, but the emotions don't really have as much of a hold over me as they used to. So yeah, it's been one hell of a journey, guys. And but yeah, I don't know if anyone.
There's so much in that. I don't even know where to start.
I know.
There's so much in that. Well, I have to take you back to the place when you said, you know, I was volunteering. And
Mm,
I first want to say that some of the folks in the room haven't been here very long. and some have been here a long time. So the names of the people Caroline speaks of are the originals, people that went long before whatever I'm doing now, and are here for, I always say, follow those that have gone before. And so, I'm looking to Caroline today, and she was looking to Jack Pransky, and Jack was looking to, George and Sid and Bill. And so the names of these people are the people that are, you know, supporting the understanding of what Sid Banks founded within himself. And so the idea that you were saying, we're looking for uh, some of the understanding through these people. So what I wanted to say to that was, Caroline is one of the many people in the community that is pointing other beautiful, unbroken, perfectly whole people to an understanding that she found herself, as she just expressed. And and I have to bring you back to the volunteering in the prisons, just because that was sort of like you said, Jacqueline Hollows. Another one has gone before. Jacqueline will be speaking in the month of April, and she worked in the community of bringing this insight to people who felt that they were something other than whole. And so you were, crawling through the crowd to get to Jacqueline and talk to her. And so your experience of going into the prison and having that, your expression was like, wow. And then everything started to line up for you. You had different things happening over and over and over. And I wondered if you could go back to that and say, what did you see? What were you hearing there? Maybe with yourself first and then with what you saw with the people.
In this, like what we see, like we speak to, like there's so many different parts that I can speak to.
Yeah.
And when we facilitate within our spas that we hold in Hertfordshire, we always have a minimum of 3 facilitators, because the chances are one of us have had maybe a similar insight or a different experience or metaphor that we can talk to it. So a lot of the time it's kind of running to the story or what we believe to be true. We're running, nope, come back. Let's do a 180-degree turn. Yeah, because that's the direction that we're looking to. And we don't underestimate any pain that has happened or anything like that. It was just, but for me to understand how the full design of how I work, I didn't know how thought worked. It was just something that's formless, that was just there, like gravity, it's just there. Like balance, it's just there. It was one of those things that, because I couldn't see it, I kind of took it for granted. And a problem would come up, for example, and I would dive straight into that problem. I would analyze the hell out of it. 360 degrees turn, and I would just keep going, spinning round and round. I mean, literally, one of my best friends was like, look, it's like you've got smoke coming out of your ears, because I would keep literally just running with that thought, and then I'd add so much to it that there was no space. When I remember, like, to know that I don't have to engage with that thought.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge. And then to know, like, a fact that no problem has ever been fixed by thinking about it. That's huge.
Yes.
It's always when we calm down, like we lose our keys, frantic, lose our mobile phone, frantic, problem, analysing.
Yeah.
The only 100%, there's no space to allow anything fresh or the answer to come in. Mm-hmm. And then when you start to recognise that in day-to-day life, then in the end, it just, like, that was a transition. It then just didn't make sense to try and intellectually work it out. And like this, a slice of happiness is, yes, I mean, I have a lot of meetings, a lot of people that I have conversations with about it. But what I love is that the bigger, more groundbreaking foundation part of it, the NHS, Coventry University, Liliana, Susan.
Liliana's here, by the way.
Hey, oh,
Yeah.
bless her. I love Lily. You
Really?
really need, oh,
Yeah,
love,
she's here with us.
awesome.
Hi, Liliana.
You know,
Here's your Caroline. Yes.
these incredible gifts just showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was I mean, okay, let's look at Lily and Susan. They were like, yeah, we'll come and volunteer with you and help you. Brilliant, great. I kind of didn't understand, like, wow, they've got a lot of experience. I was just like, great, let's just get together and let's just do this. I kind of, and the more along the way, the stuff I've worked out is that with the bigger stuff, that part will take care of itself. Yes, I might have to, I talk about this ego and this identity, and yes, I have to sometimes jump into that and operate in this sector, like it's a charity sector as well. That's something very new to me. I've never experienced that before. I've been in the sales industry, real estate, for nearly 28 years. So yeah, charity sector is very different. It's something to learn. But yeah, it kind of works itself out. It does. It gets there in the end. I do get overwhelmed, but it's like people like Lily and Susan that I get emotional, that I'm just so, yeah. They're kind of like, they're my mentors, like when I and I know that I struggle and get caught up in thought, and there's no disillusion, we all have a human experience. And sometimes it's just like, wow, I get overwhelmed by it, it's just how much it's changed my life, people around me, what we see. God, if you turn around to me 6 years ago and told me I'd be here having this conversation, I'd be like, what? No. So, like, there's just always something. It's infinite.
Mm-hmm.
Infinite. It really is. And there's the beauty that unfolds from it there's a richness, and there's something so that nothing external can give you.
Mm-hmm. I've been experiencing the same feeling around holding these conversations and having people like yourself in the community, the greater community, just say yes. Just say yes to come and support the conversation, and release the thinking of who I think I need to be in this conversation, and I think pointing people in the direction of what you were sharing around, you lived somewhere else until you saw this understanding. I lived outside myself for so many years in addiction and a food disorder, and literally standing outside myself, staring at this human form, belittling, criticizing, judgment, misunderstanding, and living my life from the outside in. Everything was external. And thinking and ruminating, how could I be better? I'm not good enough. And so I'm curious, when you come to have all this success, one moment after the next moment, and like you said, having these people show up for you, there's a mindset of thinking that shifts for us to see more about what's actually coming, what's available to us. Because when I'm in that overthinking, I can't see anything by my own nose and the experiences that I'm having, and experiencing something different. Having that less thought so I can see more.
It's like, I don't see it as success. Like, for me personally, it's just, every human being we just want to be happy and have peace of mind and feel content.
Mhm.
And the connection that we can feel but we can't see. We all want to be part of that, right?
Mhm.
That's all we want to be. We just want to be in love.
Mhm.
And so success, and I know that Natasha and Dickin, it's just coming home and being, I feel grateful that I'm in a position that with the little bit that I know, that I can share that and show someone else
Yeah.
that they're not broken.
Yeah.
The gifts that come, that show up, mine and my son's relationship, like we used to be at loggerheads. We've had one disagreement throughout lockdown,
Mhm.
you know, just to trust and just to be me. Like, I mean, relationship wise, like I said, that I haven't even kissed a guy in 4 years, and it's not even on my radar, you know. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure I've got friends. I know my son, for example, he's like, wants to go traveling. And he's got a bit in his thinking. He's like, Mum, I don't really want to kind of leave you alone. Are you going to actually meet someone? And I'm like, I'm okay at the moment. I'm just in, it used to be so much of my thinking,
Mhm.
so to just not have to think of that and see what else is out there, it's nice.
I can totally relate to that. Totally relate to that. I
Like I
know.
said,
I think our time frames are almost similar because
yeah,
I'm looking at something else. I'm
yeah,
seeing something else.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure there's people in the room that have that experience as well.
Mm,
What we focus on is growing, and I loved how you used the word as I fall back. Just fall back into this
mm,
experience.
mm. Yeah. And the simplicity to it,
Hmm.
the simplicity. Um, there's always something fresh to see.
Hmm.
Yes, nice getting to know me. I never knew who I was, what I was.
Hmm. I'm feeling you, really feeling you. There's a place in the conversation that really requires no words. For some of you that are new, this. It's this beautiful feeling. The place where that I feel connected. I feel almost emotional around coming home, coming home to who we are. Shall we open up the room to some insights or wisdom or sharing? I'm going to go to gallery view so I can see you beautiful people here. All you beautiful people. Welcome to those who came in a little bit later, who I didn't get a chance to say hello to. What are you hearing? I know my heart is really warm right now. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? Would anybody like to share? Kimberly says that she can feel the energy in this room. Caroline.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Good morning. My name is Pam. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Kelly. I'd like to ask about the work that you're preparing to do with caregivers. As someone who was a caregiver of a adult child with mental health issues, I can see how this understanding could have benefited, um, you know, coming sooner to some realizations. And so I thought myself about how to support caregivers in this way. I was wondering if you could expand on that.
Yeah, of course. Hi, Pamela. It's a good question, actually, because I believe Liliana worked with Liliana and Susan, and when COVID first happened, the charity that we're part of, they asked us to open this out to all of the community, which we did. And then, like, for me, it's been a real learning curve and just a bit of an insight into it, because to me, that part of our human design is the same for every person, regardless of their external situation. We kind of almost strip away the content of the external situation or of the diagnosis or of the label. That's stripped away, and when you point back to thought, how it works, consciousness, how that works, mind, it's the same for every situation. However, for me personally, I had a blind spot because as the spa started, we then got asked, well, can you provide a separate one for 18 to 24 years old? And I said, well, that they can attend these spas 18 upwards. I said, well, no, because apparently 18 to 24-year-olds think their situation and their emotions are different to those aged 25 upwards. And then we have the same with carers, someone who's got a physical illness. And I innocently forgot how I used to be, that my situation was very different. Like, no one's story was the same as mine. They didn't know how much suffering I'd been in. So we now are, and even today I've had an email saying, oh, we noticed that you're now separating them into different groups, which is good. However, once you have an understanding of how the design works, you'll see every single hurdle that comes up in life, any external situation, operates from the same formless space. Like, the three principles is they're just words given to it to help us explain it to you and guide you to that. But even when you strip away the words, it's just energy, right? That's like once you know how to drive a car, you can drive any car. Doesn't mean you learn to drive a Fiesta, that you can only drive a Fiesta. You've got the instruction manual and that's it. And that's the same, you know, carers, like we're starting to have taster sessions. And I'm sure there's going to be a mixed bag of emotions, really busy minds. We just point back to truth, who we are. And the principles takes care of the rest. Does that give you any more clarity, Pam? Or
yes and no. My experience was that very much the categories of age were, so as a caregiver, I was offered certain tools and understanding, and my adult child was offered theirs, and none of which was 3P oriented, so I can't, but they were helpful in their own way. So I guess my question is more related to what did that look like in terms of working with the carers. I guess you were teaching as you are now. And
we've got the taster sessions coming up. So we haven't, that starts in April.
Okay.
However, we're all human beings. We're exactly the same design. So yes, their stories might differ, like their external situation might differ, but I mean, on the current spa that we're on now, the youngest is 24, the oldest is 83. And we deliver exactly the same way. It's universal, and that's what I love about this, because with NLP, there was lots of different models and tools and different ways to remember. Whereas this is one size fits all. And it's fact, it's truth. Simplicity to it. So I'm looking forward to working with them. But I don't see them to be any different to someone sleeping on the street, someone with psychosis, someone with an addiction. I don't look at it as in boxes. And it's lovely. It's creating a space where we take them out of their boxes. And we do say that when you come into the spa, if you can leave your luggage outside, that would be great. You can collect it on the way back out. But we just want to explore more so in this direction, inside rather than outside.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Pam.
Caroline, I want to also say a little bit about the intellectual understanding in comparison to the data of the mind thinking the way through, and the understanding being something that's innate. And I think what happens when I'm considering labels, or there's when once given a label, we look for the data or resources of that rather than the humanness of what we already are, and coming back home to that place of what we already are.
I love that, Kelly. I love that, because it's hard, that, like, for me as well, I'd grown up and I knew or I thought I knew who I was. And in effect, we're saying, well, you kind of got to leave that at the door and be open-minded to look in a different direction. Be open-minded to, like for me, I just saw that it was completely made up. You know, if I think I'm a worthless person, I'll get into character and start acting a worthless person. If I think I'm unlovable, I'll get into character and start acting out an unlovable person. You know, when I'm convinced, like, and it looks so real to me that that is who I am, and then you've got complete strangers saying, well, actually, no, that's not who you truly are. You've got to be prepared to almost like be able to let go of that and be curious, be open-minded, to be guided back to something deeper within you. And then the magic just starts to unfold by itself. You know, we have participants on our spas, and, you know, everyone will say it's just like, this makes sense. You know, it's like, Pam, you know, like you're here now, and I'm sure it's the same for everyone, that we've heard something. We may not have seen it yet or heard something yet, but there's something that's connecting on a different frequency, that's it feels different. So I remember that feeling for myself. It was just, there was definitely a feeling that I didn't know what it was, but it seemed to make sense, whatever it was. And then you can play with it. Once you know how the design works, that's it.
I also think that in this time, would you agree that, you know, the immediate response, the result, I want the result now, you know, and the process for me was slow and very much a return to the experience over and over and over again, because my sight was so skewed. It was so skewed and confused. And I, like you are saying, you believed you to be in that place. You believed it so deeply that, and so, you know, for those in the room, coming out of something that you've believed for a lifetime or a long, long time, you know, to have someone sit in the room and say, you're pointing in the wrong direction. You just don't go, oh yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, great. I've got it now. You know, some of the mentors that and practitioners that worked with Sid, they would go back over, I mean, what was it? 26 years. Bill Pettit, doctor of psychology, went back for mentorship every Sunday to listen again and again. And he said after the first 4 years, okay, I got this. And then he came back for another 10. And not to say that the experience is going to be the same for everybody. Everybody will have a different time. And what would you say about that, Caroline? What would you say about that? What would you say about the people you work with, or even yourself?
I can only speak for myself. I mean, when we have the spas, we share if someone sees different. It's a lot of conversations. So really speaking for myself, I try to intellectually work it out, because that's how life or how I thought I'd been successful in life with my successful career. So I automatically started working it out, thinking, right, I've got the thought bit. And I was Googling different variations of thought, looking at that bit. Right, okay, the consciousness, I kind of get that bit. And then I got really stuck with mind, like the mind thing, like I really can't work that bit out. And then someone else would throw something else into it. And I think, oh God, I've got to work that bit out now. And it was almost like when I got out of the way of my thinking, that there was space for me to be able to see and feel and hear something different. And just like really small, I didn't, you know, some people say they have an overwhelming insight that kind of knocks them sideways for like, 2-3 days, and like real clarity about something. I was very gradual. And a lot of it just made sense. And I think I've been very blessed and extremely, extremely grateful to be able to work with individuals who most in society have written off. And to see them wake up and to be part of their journey and hear what's shared. There's no money in the world that can put a price on that. It's priceless.
What puts me in that frame of thought is that there is always a story. There's always something behind what we're seeing. And giving space to be heard, having someone actually listen to you so that whatever is, you know, within you can be shared and put forth, and it means something to someone. And I think this work is continuously allowing for people to have a space to be heard.
For me as well, what I've seen is that the more you can see how perfect your design is, like perfect human design, the more that you can see that in yourself, that reflects out onto how the world looks and other people look. And that's so beautiful to be able to experience that.
Mm-hmm. It's been a really rich conversation. And people are still coming into the room, which is lovely. Does anybody go ahead, Sam.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Sam.
It's nice to meet you. I don't really have like a question as per se, but it's more so of a comment of that like getting stuck in your mind and in your thought about how, like when you touched on at the beginning, how things, we feel like things should be a certain way. You know, we're raised to go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, you know, buy a house, da 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 da. And it's like, I feel like, well, for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but that you get stuck in a certain mindset of how things should be. And when you're able to just allow it to be, I think that's when it becomes really like beautiful. It's like you're not stuck on that like hamster wheel of how life should be or how every situation should be. Whatever it is in your mind that you've made up, it's I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but it's just it's when you can see that it just flows and it's so beautiful. It's, you know, it's like you're in the moment. You're in that moment and you're just enjoying that moment, and you don't need to be anywhere else in any other thought, maybe with any other person. So it's when you can have that, it's it's so lovely. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Sam. That was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, Pam, if you'd like.
Yeah, I just wanted to share one more thing about what you said at the very beginning, that despite your experiences as a child, you came to understand your parents loved you. And that, I think, is, for me on my own personal journey, was a very big piece. It was like at the core of my beliefs about myself were my early childhood experiences. And you know, that's makes sense to me why I got those impressions. And so I guess I would appreciate if you could expand on, you know, that enlightening moment for you, because I think personally that's where we have to get to. You know, I think that's where the understanding is so universal, as you say.
I used to think that it was personal. That person's done that to me, and that's why I feel like this. Through the understanding of the principles, and it was a huge blind spot for me. However, when I was reading The Enlightened Gardener, and I would have angry outbursts, I'd blame it on vodka or the devil drink wine. I was stressed and I'd have outbursts. And whilst reading The Enlightened Gardener, and even for myself, all of a sudden, I was able to see beyond the behaviour and see how much pain they were in. Because with any human being at any given moment in time, what we feel we're doing is the right thing. And Sydney Banks has got a beautiful quote that he uses where he says, as a human, we can only give what we have. If I've only got £5 in my purse, that's all we can give. If I feel anger, that's all I can give. If I feel jealousy, that's all I can give. And if I feel love, that's all I can give. And that for me was huge. Especially the more that I started to have clarity and be able and see that our experience of the world comes from the inside out. And this doesn't mean that I condone the act, the behavior, but on a human to human level, I feel compassion, humility, and love for them. You know? And to be able to see that is freeing in itself.
I hear that, Caroline, is, people are not their behavior.
Yeah.
We are far more than the behaviors that we display at times. I do know that the Slice of Happiness team is here, as Susan just joined the room.
Sorry for being late. I got that time thing wrong because your clocks have done something.
Yes, we did.
And ours haven't yet. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you and welcome, Susan.
And we have Ian here as well, who's one of our peer mentors as well. So
Is that Ian Shaw? Hi, Ian. Welcome. Wow. Maybe we should have a panelist talk. I'm happy to celebrate all of you and whatever. Caroline, please feel free to, share a little bit about A Slice of Happiness because they're here. It's a beautiful thing. Whatever you'd like to do.
I'm happy to open it up because also Susan and Lily have some incredible news.
Oh, okay.
They're also expanding and doing incredible work within the community called The Big Simple, which is going to be showing up shortly. So it's the team that just keeps on giving. So
well, maybe tell us a little bit about the team because you did mention it briefly, and then if they want to share, that would be awesome. The more the merrier as far as this conversation goes.
I can let Ian, Susan and Lily introduce themselves.
Okay.
If that's okay with them.
Yeah, you're right, guys. I'm sort of a participant in this Slice of Happiness. So I was introduced to Caroline about 2 years ago, and I think I'm on my 4th sort of star. Probably a little bit like Kelly and Caroline said earlier, is a little bit of a slow burn for me. I immediately recognised the truth, about the power of thought and how it shapes our reality. But I would find myself making exceptions to that. I historically had sort of drug addiction and mental health issues. So I would see that it was true, except for around alcohol, except for around this. But ultimately, what I would say is, my perspective of life has really changed. I always used to think or try to be a kind person, but think that deep down I was damaged and there was something scary about me. Ultimately that's very much fallen away. I live alone. Obviously, we're all in a pandemic at the moment. I've never felt less lonely or more connected, really. And just as a a note, because it's a personal thing for me, is my dad passed away fairly quickly, sort of just over 3 weeks ago. And any other time in my life when I've had loss or sadness, I've acted out, whether it's a job, a girlfriend, or just a rejection, someone I fancied. Whereas probably the most, well, undoubtedly the most major loss of my life, and you know, I'm very sad about it. I've not acted out. I still feel connected. Still feel a love for life. I feel like I'm going to cry, but and that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And as it sort of comes to the addiction issues, I found the more major ones, cocaine, it's just fallen away. I've forgotten about it, is the truth of it. And I'd gone 6 months without smoking until my dad went into hospital. I picked it up again, but I haven't smoked for nearly a week again. Yeah, so all round, I've got nothing but gratitude for the three principals, Caroline, Lily, Susan, and the other people that have been involved along the way. And yes, it's changed everything for me. So I'm forever grateful. And to you, Kelly, and people like yourself that, you know, raise the awareness. I think it's an amazing thing. And I know it'll play some part, whatever part that is, in my future. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing vulnerably, and I'm deeply sorry for your loss, and just so
That's
great to
okay.
hear what you're doing. Just really great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Beautiful Susan.
Hey. I'm sorry I don't know what's gone before, but I have heard Caroline talk. So I may, hopefully, well, I don't know. I'm sorry to miss what you said so far, Caroline. It's lovely to be here again and amongst your lovely community, and that was so nice hearing from me. And we all get such pleasure, all of us, when Ian shares. It's the way he shares that is so. I don't know. You just heard it, isn't it? It's just so. It's so ordinary, but it's really touches you because you can see how much it means to him. And we're all the same, aren't we? Because I'm also grateful every day that I know this. Just to tell you a little bit about what we're doing. So this week, in fact, we're doing our first. We're going to do our first kind of talk as the Big Simple. We've been Lily, our colleague Lou, Scott, and I have formed something called the Big Simple during lockdown. We've been working together behind the scenes, putting together a website, and we're writing a curriculum. And our aim and our hope is to work with people who are coming out of the care system. Do you call it the care system in Canada? Is it?
As in mental wellness care system?
As in people who, so children who aren't able to be looked after by their families for whatever reason, so they're looked after by the state or by foster care.
Foster care, yes.
And so we want to work with people who are coming out of that system and teach them this understanding. From our research, and also from our time of working in the prison system, we saw that a lot of people who were in the prison system had been through the care system. So and that's also very much seen in the juvenile system, where I think it's 40 or 50% of people in juvenile detention have been through the care system. So we decided that's the group we wanted to work with. We're all mothers as well, and we feel like we want to share this understanding and see if they can see what's possible for them in their lives when they have a shift in consciousness, like we saw when we worked in the prisons. When people had a shift in consciousness, they saw all sorts of other things were possible for their lives and what they thought their life was going to look like. So we're launching the Big Simple this week, and it's we don't even quite know what it's going to look like, but we're excited. We've built this website with the help of some of Lou's friends, made it a bit of a labor of love and built our website for us. And
me, so I can put it up on the page. Send it to me.
Thank you. Yeah, well, as soon as it goes live, which should be literally very soon, right, Lily? It should be any day. We'll definitely send you a link. And so
that's amazing.
Press.
That's amazing. Spreading the message even bigger. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
For those who don't know, Susan was a former speaker earlier in the month, and next is Liliana, who's coming up in our month. So Liliana, are you here?
Yeah. Hi.
Thanks, Susan. Hello.
Well, it's lovely to be here. You have a very special community. It really feels like you have created such special space for all these lovely people to come together. So it feels like it's a real treat to enter this space. So hi everyone. And so yes to everything that Susan said. Absolutely. It never really feels like work, but now we are starting to be paid, so it's great news. And it feels like a privilege, and there is a common denominator for all of us, which is gratitude and love, which are not something we are doing, but something that comes through us very naturally when we start to see the truth of it all. Then that becomes second nature. Well, it is our nature when we are not so caught up in what we think to be true and the stories we've been telling ourselves for years. So it's all beautiful, and I wanted to say that there are people, we all bring different things, and we have a different flavor and different gifts in this human experience of ours. We show up differently, don't we? Although we have that, the common denominator is that we are the love and the feeling we want to experience. That's who we are. And also, which is what is true for all of us, is that our mind works the same way. We experience what we think. So that's in a nutshell. But then there is this individual way that we show up in life. And even in this work, we all bring different things. And that's exciting, and it gives us diversity, variety, and with we've been blessed to work with people like Caroline, and also organization like the Beyond Recovery. And Caroline she is a force of nature, you see. She had an idea, and she just went ahead. She makes things happen. So for us who love to show up and do the delivering, she provides us with the space and the opportunity to do that. And so that's a real inspiration. She really gets on with it and makes things happen. So that's a beautiful gift that she brings. And I just wanted to say that because, you know, we need all sorts. We need all sorts of people with different gifts. So if you think like you're sitting there, you think, oh, I'd like to do that, but I'm not like her, or I don't speak like her, and I don't, you know, I'm different. Great. That's a wonderful thing, because then it becomes rich. And then we can come together and learn from each other. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to say that. And yes, I'm excited for what lays ahead, which, to be honest, we don't spend much time thinking of what is going to come. We are very much in the moment with it all. and there's gold popping up from all different places, and we're just here to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Wisdom is seeping in. I have to say that this is the community of this understanding that love just finds its way to the next person and the next person. I mean, I didn't expect to host the beautiful Caroline and have the whole team show up. So this is just unbelievable. And I think that's how the process works. And I love what you said, Liliana, because we all are different and unique in our own way. And because of that, we attract a unique and special difference in others. And so it takes a community of different souls to build that attraction. And so you four are doing just that, and it's just amazing to see. There but go those before me, right? So I'm excited to see just what you're doing and be a part of it, and join into some of the offers that you have up and coming, and so blessed to have you in this room and all of you be here. Thank you so much for sharing. Caroline, do you want to address the room in just sharing some of the ways people can get a hold of you? We do have about 9 minutes left, 10 minutes left, so there are times for people to have something to share or questions, or how should we finish complete? Yeah,
if you're curious about the work, charity work that we do, you can look on the website, which I believe Kelly's put up there, and if you follow it, as soon as Susan and Lil's goes live, that will be shared as well. But there's some really good videos on there from different individuals over time throughout the journey. And if you're interested in working with me privately, I have my own website, which is cpacademy.co.uk. I do tend to do, majority of my work is community, but that's not to say that the private is ignored. So and also there's a free video on my website as well, where I just it's an hour's video, and I just show you how my life used to look like and how it looks like now, but honestly in every single area. And I'm sure anyone who's within this principles community can say that it's affected in their life in not just one way, but in a number of ways. And there's gifts that are continuously arriving on your doorstep, so when you least expect it. But yeah, and also if anyone's got any questions as well, as Kelly said, that might now be 7 minutes possibly. Yeah. Thank you to Kelly as well. Thank you for inviting us, and I love that the team has showed up. I love that.
I do too. I think that speaks to the way this actually works within us. You know, it's just love meeting love, really. Yes. So I am happy to host and say that that the understanding of what was unfolded way back in the day by Sydney Banks carries its way in different messages. And Caroline and Susan and Ian and Liliana are sharing not just one process of sharing, but their own individual process. And for those of you who are considering taking this work under your wing and flying with it, just know that there's always an opportunity for you to be an individual in whatever area you want to work in. And it because it's all coming from within you, that if you're working, you know, as Caroline does, supporting people in all arenas of, you know, the slice of happiness as well as the big simple. But I was also curious around, you know, where could I do it in the beginning? Like, what would I be doing? And I came from a different field, and not everybody's going to launch it out as the principles. And as Caroline said, they're just words. it's really in the feeling that we share together that creates the experience. And it's exactly what we're sharing here. And I'm beyond excited to have the whole team here. And Liliana, I have to say, Liliana, as part of that team, is going to be speaking on, where are you, my girl? 4th, May 4th, which is Tuesdays in May, everybody. And I have the lovely Susan Anderson, who's right up top there. Give us a wave, Susan. Susan will be coming next week for the conversation. And so, does anybody have anything they'd like to share or say? Otherwise, we can sit in this beautiful feeling with Caroline. I love watching the Hollywood Squares because sometimes it just comes up. You know, the bubble just comes up and bang, somebody wants to say something.
Does Sue have a title for her talk?
Go ahead, Sue.
I was going to ask you.
I think she's going to let wisdom guide it, just like Caroline did. What do you think, Sue?
I think I better. No, I've done a lot of community work over the last 40 odd years, Susan. So I am going to see what comes up, because I've been sharing now for the last 7 years in the community in lots of different ways, but continuing to deepen my own understanding as well. Mm-hmm. And I would like to share something with Caroline, but I'm going to do it offline with regards to. It turned out that I was a carer 24/7 in the lockdown, and doing it from this place was really, really interesting. So it would probably take a little bit longer than a few minutes to talk to you.
Beautiful.
So I'll be in touch.
Yeah, and I do definitely reach out, Sue. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think anybody who, you know, I'm falling into a place where my parents are up in their upwards of 80s, and care is falling upon me, as it might be falling upon others who are, you know, in the realms where parents are aging, and we're going to be taking on a new role. And I'm forever grateful to be working with the principals and having conversations that, you know, I said sometimes it's just tape on my mouth where I'm saying nothing because it's best to do so. And other times I'm learning how to spread the love and understanding that I have to care for my own mom, you know, and my stepdad and my parents in the East. So care is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm learning through the principles how to do it better and better. So Caroline, I want to thank you for coming and sharing your beautiful self.
Thank you as well. Thank you to everyone for joining. It's been really nice. I've loved it.
Mm-hmm. We had a beautiful conversation not so long ago, Carolyn and I. There was a lot of laughs and a lot of, you know, sometimes you just know you're with your people. Been around the streets, been around this. Let's say this, not our first canoe ride in the world of life, and it's beautiful to meet you and your team and all the lovely things that you're doing. So please feel free to unmute yourselves and say goodbye to this team and lovely Caroline.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Beautiful conversation.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will see you all next week at kindmindacademy.ca for the lovely Sue Anderson. And I look forward to the conversation and all of you.
Best of luck, Susan and Liliana. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
How much is it, lady?
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Kelly.